Alright guys, MTech Guy here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the E87 130i. Now I just recently bought this car and I'm currently in the process of giving it a good clean up before we move on to any maintenance or repairs, anything like that later on. So if you've watched my previous video in this series, you'll have seen that we gave the engine bay a really good clean up. That's looking nice and shiny now. So next up, in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at giving the exterior a really good clean. Now, it's a bit of a damp, cold, dewy morning. It's quite hard to tell how mucky the car actually is at the moment. I would have loved to have done some before and after shots, but it is what it is. So I'll try and get a few close-ups of how bad it is at the minute. And then we're going to give the exterior of the car a real thorough clean. That'll get it looking nice and sharp, and it'll also give us the opportunity to have a real closer look at the panels and the paint, see if there's any small defects that I might want to rectify later on. Now this video is by no means the ultimate way to clean the exterior of your car. This is just the way I've been doing it for many years. Now we'll take a look at the products that I'm going to be using shortly. Now these products are what I've been using for a number of years now, and I've found that they do a really good job. Now there might be much better products available at commercial suppliers, you know, supplying detailing firms, but I've always looked for what's available on the shelf at your local parts supplier, what's reasonably priced and what does a good job. Okay, so let's take a look at what I'm going to be using today. Alright, so as you'll see, we've got a nice array of products here, mostly Meguiar's. I find that they do a good job. So this might seem like a number of products we've got here, but this video is about giving the car a really good thorough clean to start us off with. Like I said, just recently bought the car and I want to give myself a really nice clean car to start off with before we move on to any maintenance, repairs, anything like that. So if it was just a regular once a week maintenance wash, you certainly wouldn't need all these products. But like I say, we want to be giving it a real thorough clean today. So to start off with, before we do anything, we're going to be cleaning the alloy wheels. Going to be using some of this BMW wheel rim cleaner here. I'm pretty sure this is just a repackaged Sonax brand. I might be wrong. But anyhow, this is one of them iron removing wheel cleaners. You know, the ones that turn a sort of red purpley colour. Now, I'm not a huge fan of these. I've used them in the past. I don't like to use them that often. Now, I've seen this type of thing being used on many YouTube videos, but I'm not a massive fan of it because something that doesn't get talked about that often is the fact that it does create a little bit of surface rust, especially on your rotors. Now, it's not so much of a big deal on the brake discs themselves because most of that light surface rust is going to get scrubbed off with your brake pads. But I've noticed it does affect the wheel bolts, and also you've got to think about all that hardware in your calipers. It's going to get right in there, your guide pins, your fasteners. So it's not something I like using all the time because I don't want to accelerate a load of corrosion around the suspension arms and the calipers themselves. But because we're giving the car a real thorough clean today, I'm going to start off with this, and then I'll just maintain it with a regular wheel cleaner until they get really caked up with brake dust and whatnot, if it starts getting really ingrained, and then I'll move on to this. So just a once in a while product I like using, but certainly not all the time. And then next up, we're just going to give some of the heavy dirt a little bit of soaking with the heavy-duty multi-purpose cleaner here from Meguiar's. I'm a big fan of this. I've also found that there's a bit of dried polish here and there around the car, so I'm going to give it a bit of a soak with this. Hopefully that will loosen it up enough before we move on to the next stage. Now I'm also going to be using the heavy-duty cleaner to give the inside of the wheel arches a good clean, a good soak before blowing it off with the power washer, and also we'll use this stuff to give the tyres a really good scrub. Now we won't let this product sit for too long. Before we move on to the next stage, we're going to give it a nice coating of snow foam using the Meguiar's Gold Class car wash, and while that's sitting and doing its thing, I'm going to take a soft detailing brush and just go around all the window rubbers and whatnot, because over time these can start getting a bit of moss and mould on them, and also there'll be a lot of trapped dirt in there, so I'll just give them a good scrub while the whole car's getting a bit of a soak. And once we've got all the snow foam rinsed off, I'm going to give it a hand wash with the Ultimate Wash and Wax here from Meguiar's. I find this stuff really good, especially on black cars. It'll just give it a nice little thin coating of wax once you're finished. And then when we move on to the drying stage, I'm going to be using some Ultimate Quick Detailer as a drying agent. I'll talk about that a bit more later on. And then once the car's completely dry, I just want to go over it with the Gold Class Quick Wax, just to give it a thin layer of protection. Now eventually I will give the car a proper coating of wax. I like the BMW hard wax. I do love my Carnauba waxes, but unfortunately here in New Zealand the UV rays are that harsh, it just burns it off in about 5 minutes flat. But even so, and I know this is a Carnauba based one, it'll just give it a thin layer of protection, especially from them UV rays, just in the short term before I get a chance to give the car a really good proper wax later on. But today's video is just about giving the car a real thorough clean. Alright, so let's get into it, and we'll start off with the wheels. Alright, so that's all 4 wheels cleaned up now. So next up we'll move on to the inner wheel arch liners and the tyres. We'll give them a good spray down with the heavy duty cleaner, and then we'll give them a blast with the water blaster. Alright, so before we blast it all off, we'll just give the tyres a bit of an agitation. Okay, so next up we'll go over the whole car with the water blaster, try and loosen any heavy soiled areas up, knock all that dust off the surface, and then we'll move on to the snow foam. Alright, so we've got some gold class mixed up in our snow foamer here, so now we're ready to lay some foam on the car. We'll start at the bottom first and work our way up. Alright, so now that we've got the foam off, we're going to go over it with the wash mitt and the ultimate wash and wax. Give it a good hand wash, and then we'll rinse that off again with the power washer. Alright, so now that the car's all rinsed off, we're ready to go through with our drying towel, get it all nicely dried off. But before we do so, we're going to give the drying towel 2 or 3 squirts with the quick detailer. Now, it might seem a bit strange, but what I've found is it does help with the drying of the car. It just lifts that water off just that little bit better. I don't know why or how it works, but it seems to help. Okay, so now that we've got the car dried off, we're ready to go through with the final step. Let's give it a bit of a coating of wax, bit of protection and a bit of extra shine. Alright guys, so there we have it. That's the exterior clean completed now on the 130i. And to be fair, the paint doesn't look too bad, especially for a 15-year-old car. I'm pretty happy with that. It does have the odd slight imperfection here and there, and there's a bit of compound residue hanging around here and there also, so I think sometime in the future I might give it a clay bar, cut and a polish, nice coat of wax, but for the time being I'm happy with that. And using that spray wax for now, that's certainly not something I rely on as a proper wax. That's just something I like to do after every wash, just to top up the wax I normally keep on the car. But yeah, the paint doesn't look too bad on this one. I think the one thing that's letting it down more than anything is the headlamps. You can see these are showing their age a bit, a little bit faded and yellow. They look like they've been clear coated. It's got a hazy sort of orange peel to it. So they've been clear coated at some time and then it's just continued to fade. So one thing I want to do is definitely get these tidied up, get them restored, and then that should certainly set off the exterior of the car, because it's letting everything down at the moment. Okay, so that's the engine bay cleaned up, the exterior cleaned up. So in the next video we're going to be making a start on the interior. If you found the video useful, don't forget to give it a like, and make sure you go and check out the rest of my YouTube channel for more BMW content. Consider subscribing if that's your cup of tea, and if you're into the E87 130i's, make sure you check out the rest of the playlist as we go. I'm MTech Guy, thanks a lot for watching.